Hello and welcome to Clean Fiction Audio, where you can find wonderful reads for the quirky and discerning book lover. This audio version of the popular magazine focuses on the best reads that are available in audiobook form from both the Christian and clean secular markets. For even more independent and small press books, visit cleanfictionmagazine.com and check out our most recent edition. This week, we are focusing on the superhero and science fiction genres, and you will enjoy 2 reviews from each genre written by our Clean Fiction reviewers. Contact information for reviewers featured in this episode can be found in the description. We hope that you enjoy these reviews and find your next favorite audiobook.
A Clean Fiction review by Brianna Wilkie of Reformed by H.L. Burke. Once a villain, always a villain. Optimistic and idealistic superhero Prism is determined to redeem her father's legacy by rebooting his supervillain rehabilitation program. To do so, she sets her sights on Fade, the relapsed supervillain who was the reason the government canceled the original program in the first place. However, when she petitions for Fade to be released into her custody, she finds out things might not be as simple as she thought. Convicted of an unforgivable crime, Fade received a choice: surrender to trial and possible execution, or endure a memory erasure so he could start fresh. Now, with no recollection of his time before incarceration, Fade doubts he has the ability to be anything but the villain the public believes him to be. A series of attacks by a mysterious, power-swapping villain points back to Fade's past and the crime that cost him his freedom and memory. With her father's legacy and her own reputation on the line, even Prism has to wonder: can a villain truly be reformed? Reformed is part of the superhero fantasy and superhero science fiction genres. This book is available on Amazon as an ebook and paperback and on Audible. Action. There are plenty of fast-paced action scenes to be had. It wouldn't be much of a superhero story without it. A lot of action can also mean a lot of violence. While several scenes are violent, there's nothing graphic. No blood or gore. The action and violence you'll find here aren't any worse than anything you'd come across in a PG-13 Marvel movie. Think along the lines of Infinity War. That's the kind of action you're getting here. Adventure. When it comes to superheroes, action and adventure go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. This book is full of adventure from beginning to end. Rehabilitating supervillains is an adventure unto itself, but then you add several villains that our team of heroes with diverse and, at times, clashing personalities and various different power sets have to figure out how to work together to bring these villains to justice. Seeing how these different relationships play out and how team members work through their differences is just as much part of the adventure as working to bring down our main villain is. I got total Avengers vibes while reading this. Romance. Sparks fly between Prism and Fade. Both end up developing strong romantic feelings for each other. The chemistry is strong with these two. As far as physical intimacy goes, nothing more than hugging and the occasional kiss is shown. A past sexual relationship between Fade and Cosmic is implied and later confirmed, but no details are given. I can't wait to read more about Fade and Prism's relationship. I totally ship it. Religion. Prism and Aiden's Catholic faith is mentioned. Faith plays an important role to both characters, though it's handled with a light touch. None of the other main characters appear to be religious. Anything more I could say would contain spoilers. I hope faith continues to play a role, no matter how overt, as the series continues. There's nothing preachy to be found. Anyone, whether religious or not, will enjoy this book. Final thoughts. Reformed is the Avengers meets My Hero Academia in the best way. I'm a huge fan of both, so this book was right up my alley. This cast of characters is so fun. They'll immediately start to feel like friends. It's hard not to get attached. There's a bit of swearing and drinking throughout the story. It fits the characters and makes them feel more real and relatable. The content you'll come across isn't any worse than you would in most PG-13 rated superhero movies. I loved this book. It's the most fun I've had reading a book in a while. I loved everything about it, and I look forward to continuing the series. I highly recommend this to all superhero fans. This book is rated B. This is the full blush people. If you are prone to fainting, you will need a fan. For more specific information about this rating, visit the Levels of Clean page on our website. You can find the author, H.L. Burke at hlaburkeauthor.com.
A Clean Fiction Review by Lynn McConahy of The Chase Runners Series Book 1, by Bradley Caffee. Win the chase. Be the hero, or die trying. The chaos and anarchy following the Great Collapse nearly brought the world to its knees, until the unchanging law brought order and peace. Generations later, the 12 alliances of the World Coalition come together once a year to allow their best and brightest young people to compete in the chase. The prize? A chance to pass exactly one new law. The son of two former chase runners, Willis Thompson is the top trainee in the Western Alliance. With the expectations of the world and his heritage driving him, he leads his elite red team as they prepare for his moment to become a coveted law changer. Perrin Davis, the new leader of the blue team, struggles to survive as she competes as one of the designated losers. She knows that losing means genetic recoding, a process that cannot go on indefinitely, and longs to age out of the program before it kills her. When a mysterious new racer with knowledge of the outside shows up at their orbiting training center, the natural order of the Western Alliance trainees is upended. In a world where too much knowledge is dangerous, Willis and Perrin find themselves in a race to save their lives and uncover the hidden underbelly of the peaceful World Coalition. The Chase is part of the Christian science fiction and dystopian fiction genres. This book is available on mountainbrookinc.com, as an Amazon ebook and paperback, and on Audible. This heart-pounding sports-themed science fiction that will have you turning pages so fast that you might just forget to sleep. Action. There is a heavy dose of team preparedness, leadership focus, and strategizing happening in this book. The vast majority of the content is focused on the different teams preparing for the chase. Instead of battle sequences, this book has monthly recoding runs. A lot of the tension comes from the punishment of recoding, which, though it is described with enough detail to turn the stomach, is never explicitly described in its totality. Adventure. The sense of adventure in this book comes from the participants living on a space station. The cool sci-fi feel of the atmosphere helps the reader to immerse themselves into the world without being detracted by landscapes, or I guess that would be starscapes in this instance. Romance. There is a touch of romance that I would say is a running theme through the book, but the focus of the characters is not drawn into it often. I would categorize it as sweet and blossoming, but also cite it as a humanizing factor that was necessary in the clinical feel of the repetitive training runs. Religion. This story does not specifically mention any type of religion. Though I know that the author is a Christian and the book is categorized as a Christian science fiction, there is no overt mention of belief one way or another. I would say that there are Christian themes that do present themselves, such as the difference between freedom and slavery, as well as treating others as you would want to be treated, but are not specifically presented as such. I will caution those who are sensitive to the topic of cloning. The threat of recoding raises questions about the personhood of clones and whether a person's consciousness can be passed into another body. These are both viewed in a highly negative light, but are still present. Final thoughts. With a definitive nod to books like The Hunger Games, this story tells a coming-of-age tale that will push you to wonder what you would have done if presented with the same circumstances. I will admit that I devoured this book in a single day for the solitary fact that I couldn't put it down. The author takes the time to build the story, and then once the end is near, dives headfirst into the heart-racing finish. Who do you think will win the chase? This book is rated P. Clutch your pearls. Grandma may raise an eyebrow, but keep on reading. For more specific information about this rating, visit the Levels of Clean page on our website. You can find the author, Bradley Caffee, at bradleycaffee.com.
This episode of Clean Fiction Audio is sponsored by author Jessica Bertrand. Jessica Bertrand resides in the beautiful state of Colorado, where she's frequently lost in the stacks at the library. She's a contributing author in Finding God in Anime, a devotional for otakus, Volumes 1, Epor 2, the author of Uranium Downs, the Rocky Mountain Medley Collection, and Dinosaurs, Assassins, and Monarchs. Jessica is super excited that Sphinx and Massey made their flash fiction debut on Havoc.com. She can't wait to see where this pair will take her on their next adventure. If you enjoy books full of adventure with a unique flair, You will enjoy these books by Jessica Bertrand, found at jessicabertrand.com.
A Clean Fiction Review by Brianna Wilkie of A Blind Date with a Supervillain by H.L. Burke. Juggling life as a superhero with college and a social life is hard, but Sean Park, aka Surge, feels he's killing it. Things look even brighter when he makes a connection with the sweet but shy new barista at his favorite coffee shop. Maybe a guy really can have it all, but appearances can be deceiving. Apparition just wants her supervillain father to be proud of her, and she'll do anything to accomplish that, even disguise herself as mild-mannered coffee shop employee Nikki to get close to the superhero he's stalking. However, between his charming smile and kind words, she finds herself hopelessly drawn to the good-natured Sean. As the chemistry between Sean and Nikki sizzles, the tension between Surge and Apparition grows. If he finds out the truth, they could be headed for something far more explosive than the average breakup. A Blind Date with a Supervillain is part of the superhero science fiction and multicultural and interracial romance genres. This book is available on Amazon as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Action. Just because this is primarily a superhero-flavored rom-com doesn't mean that there isn't time for some classic superhero action. There's a few action sequences with a couple of gasp-worthy moments that will leave you turning the page for more. Some blood is involved, but nothing graphic. These moments aren't any worse than the action that goes on in PG-13 rated superhero movies. Adventure. The adventure mostly revolves around the blossoming romance of Surge and Apparition. Throw in Apparition's murder-scheming supervillain father, and our leads will find out how complicated love can be. Romance. Romance features heavily in the story. It's sweet, it's innocent, nothing beyond a couple of sweet kisses. I absolutely loved it. Surge and Apparition forever. Nothing more can be said without completely spoiling it. Religion. I know the author is Christian, but the book itself isn't religious. It falls in the clean secular category. This story can be enjoyed by anyone, especially by those who enjoy both romantic comedies and superheroes. The perfect combination, in my opinion. Final thoughts. There are a couple of uses of language and one mention of domestic abuse. Other than that, there aren't any issues as far as content is concerned. This is a spin-off of H.L. Burke's main superhero series, the Supervillain Rehabilitation Project. A character from the main series even makes an appearance. If you love the original series, you'll enjoy this one too. It's a sweet story worth checking out. Even if you haven't read the original series, this story can be read on its own. It might inspire you to go back and check out the Supervillain Rehabilitation Project, which I also highly recommend. This book is rated G, will make you gasp. Both eyebrows will be involved in reading this book. For more specific information about this rating, visit the Levels of Clean page on our website. You can find the author H.L. Burke at hlburkeauthor.com.
A Clean Fiction Review by Lynn McConahy of Lost Bits by Kerry Nietz. The last thing K404 remembers is a happy home with the human child L, whose care is his primary purpose. So, when he wakes up in a landfill of tossed-away technology, his only thought is to reunite with his family. This world is not his own, though. It's a wasteland of desolate buildings, flying metal discs, and monstrosities that keep themselves active by stealing another bot's power. How did the world get this way? And why was he discarded? Hampered by imperfect memory, an obsolete body, and limited battery life, 404 sets out to find his home. Joined by other castaways, he faces off against scavengers and monsters, only to encounter greater threats. Pursued, outsmarted, and manipulated on every side, 404 teeters on the brink of annihilation. His only chance of survival? Those bits of himself, the connections, he hasn't lost. Lost Bits is part of the hard science fiction and post-apocalyptic science fiction genres. This book is available on Amazon as an ebook, paperback, and hardcover, and as an audiobook on Audible. I saw this book floating around social media and was intrigued by the book blurb. I love a book with a mystery to solve, but I was not prepared for the depth that this robot book brought to the read. Action. Though the beginning of this book is appropriately disorienting, as the story progresses, the action ramps up little by little until you arrive at the end with a bang. Most of the action is Let's try not to die tension, but there is an element of battle that is brought in later on. There was an uncomfortable character who is portrayed as a human-tech hybrid. This character is written in a negative light. I don't usually mind hybridization in science fiction, but this character was trying to cheat God, which was understandably creepy. Adventure. Though the actual distance covered by the story is not vast, the detail with which the author presents the world is so fine that it made me want to know every nuance of K404's travels. There is no space travel in this book, but there is no shortage of futuristic ships and machines. Nietz wove the discovery of the world into the mystery that he presented in the book blurb. I felt that choice led to a much more enjoyable experience of the post-apocalyptic world than what would be found in a similar book. Romance. There is no romance found in this book, but relationships play a key role in the storytelling. The banter between the two main characters was both expected conversation for robots and gave them a warmth not usually found in technology. There are many friends that are picked up along the way, and found family plays a large part. The interaction between the family members was heartwarming and a joy to read. Religion. This story does not specifically mention religion, but I can see the touch of the father's hand in it. K404's whole focus is on finding his Eli, not to seek some sort of revenge for being thrown away, but because he cares for her in a way that goes beyond programming, the same way a father would care for a child. What I see when I look between the lines of this story is God's search for us. We are imprinted on his heart, and though we are lost, he would do anything to find us. Final thoughts. The noble, driven K404 won my heart with his devotion to his family and his strong sense of justice. I saw reflected in his story of impossible odds the love that God shows each one of us. If you want your science fiction to be full of heart, this is the book for you. On the flip side, if you want your science fiction to be full of futuristic machines and action, this is also the book for you. In short, this book is the whole package and will appeal to all types of readers. So what are you waiting for? Go read it. This book is rated G, will make you gasp. Both eyebrows will be involved in reading this book. For more specific information about this rating, visit the Levels of Clean page on our website. You can find the author, Kerry Nietz, at kerrynietz.com.